such an opportunity where we can redirect ourselves with the real purpose of life. It's how Srimad Bhagavatam class is so important, and Srila Prabhupada has put this as part of our morning program, which is it's like mandate for all. So it's very important because Prabhupada told so many cases that how just sit and hear. So if you sit and hear, then we can direct our lives in the right direction. Otherwise, it becomes very difficult because the nature of this world is it distracts us. Maya Devi is always there to distract us in so many other kinds of engagements, engagements. So we need to come together and sit and discuss Srimad Bhagavatam so that we have that alignment, and it's always required. Just like if you're in the vehicle, you're not putting your hand on the steering. So if you just leave it, what happens? The car goes in some other direction. So you have to be constantly vigilant that you are actually putting the hand on the steering, and then it's always on the track like that. So that's why we need every day the dose of this transcendental knowledge so that we can align ourselves. Otherwise, very easy to get carried away in this material world. So today in this chapter, we are discussing from this episode of Dhruv Maharaj, where he was a small boy at the age of 5, and he is actually, as a child, just wanting to have affection for his father. Seeing his brother Uttama sitting on the lap, so he also wanted to just be on the lap of him. So you can see here Suruchi and Suniti, though both of them are having different kind of value system. So if you see Suruchi is actually in bodily consciousness, and she was wanting to be favorite. She was the favorite of king, and she was taking pride in that of being the favorite of the king. And she was having that idea that how I can have control over the king, and the king is my favorite. Prabhupada says in the previous purport, how his womanly nature, that the woman understands that her husband regards her as a favorite and especially affectionate to her. She takes undue advantage. He says this. So this is the nature of woman that so she was basically taking pride in that, and she became envious of Dhruv Maharaj. So like that. So you can see all these bad qualities come because of bodily consciousness. Like so many bad qualities. So the beginning happens by this misconception. That's why they say the first is avidya. So as soon as there is avidya, then there is asmita. So ignorance leads to misidentification. Then one feels that, oh, I am the body. That kind of consciousness comes. And as soon as we start thinking I am the body, then immediately there will be raga and dvesha, attachment and aversion. Immediately you'll find. The bodily consciousness leads to attachment to something and then aversion to something. So here Suruchi is attached to whom? Suruchi is attached to her own body, and then maybe her own son, and being attached to be favorite of his king, husband. So you can see that. So that leads to attachment and then pride. And she is averse. She is becoming averse or hateful or envious towards Dhruv Maharaj. You can see this is a nature, because as soon as you are thinking in terms of body, then there will be attachment and aversion. Raga, Dvesha. That's why Krishna says, Raga, Dvesha, Vimuktastu, Vishyan, Indriyascharan, Atma, Vashye, Vidhe, Atma, Sadham, Adhikachati, says this much. Raga, Dvesha, Vimuktastu, Vishyan, Indriyascharan. One should control one's senses, control one's mind, giving up this Raga and Dvesha. Vishyan, Indriyascharan, Atma, Vashye, Vidhe, Atma. With the words of the scriptures, Vidheya, as per the rules and regulations of the scriptures, words of the scriptures, Atma Vashye, one should control that and aversion, and that way one can attain the mercy of God. That's what is explained. So basically, one has to curb this attachment and aversion, and the root of attachment and aversion is because of bodily consciousness. So, and by hearing the transcendental knowledge, that's why in that verse also, the Vidheya Atma, rules and regulations of the scriptures. When we do that, then we are empowered to control our attachment aversion by dint of transcendental. Because the transcendental knowledge, it actually attacks on vidya. Because we understand that I'm not this body. Then why I should think in terms of body? Something is mine, something is someone else. This kind of body consciousness leads to attachment and aversion. And then when attachment and aversion is there, the next step happens. Abhinivation. What is abhinivation? Material absorption. And one gets materially absorbed. And there are so many bad qualities will come. One will become proud, one will become envious, one will become angry, one will become greedy, falsity, duplicity. So many things will come. So just because of having this avidya, worldly conception of life, attachment and aversion, and then so many bad qualities will come. Abhinivation. One gets materially absorbed. That's how his existence in material world continues. That. So we can see Srimad Bhagavatam, so many places, this kind of erratic behavior is mind because of worldly conception. You can think the case of Dhritarashtra also. Dhritarashtra was a great king, and he was a great wife, Gandhari, and he had great counsel of Vidurji. But in spite of that, Dhritarashtra, as the name suggests, he was very attached to his Rashtra. And the very first verse of Bhagavad Gita, Mamaka Pandavaschai, Kim Apurvata Sanjay is saying there also. So he's saying that Mamaka, mine, Pandavaschai, Pandavas is separating. So it's a one family, but it's separating. Mamaka Pandavaschai. So the very first verse of Bhagavad Gita is actually talking about bodily conception. He's addressing the problem, the living being. And same thing is going to happen with Arjuna also. Arjuna is thinking in terms of bodily conception. How can I kill my own relatives? Like that. So you can see the Bhagavad Gita first verse itself is the problem statement of the living being. You can see that how we can get trapped by this bodily conception of life, and then all the troubles are. Arjuna's miseries are also because of bodily conception. And the last verse of Bhagavad Gita is talking about the solution. 18.63 is the solution. And then last verse also says about Yatra Yogeshwara Krishna, the part of the. So as we invite Krishna in our heart, transcendental knowledge, then we can actually be victorious in transcending this bodily conception. And the waste by surrendering to Krishna. So when we surrender to the spiritual master, surrender to Krishna, and receive the transcendental knowledge, then we can counteract this already. Otherwise, it is very, very difficult. So Bhagavatam, that's why tries to help us come out of this bodily conception of life and understand our real position as part of us. Jivara Sarupa Krishna Nityadas. Prabhupada has quoted this many, many times. Because as soon as we forget that I am not the body, I am soul, and we forget that I am servant of Krishna, then immediately we are in illusion. Immediately we are captured by misconception. This is what happens to any condition. So here, Suruchi is saying very proudly, informed to Maharaj that to be the king's son was not the qualification of sitting on the lap or on the throne of the king. So she has her idea about qualification. That qualification of Dhruva Maharaj is in terms of whether he has taken birth from my womb or not. You can see that. So the living entity somehow, no matter which body he is in, and no matter which species he has gone to, somehow he has that mentality that I am the most special. I am the center. That kind of consciousness, very amazing consciousness. Like as a kid also, when we are growing, then somehow we just feel that I am the center. And we consider ourselves to be very special. So this kind of consciousness of being the center and anything through me is special. Kailash Prabhu says this, one should, as devotees also, we should be careful. We should not have this idea that I am the gift of God to this humanity. He says this kind of consciousness comes. Even to a devotee may also come. I am the gift of God to deliver this humanity, suffering souls of this universe. As devotees may think, okay, maybe I'm not that empowered now, but I am soon going to deliver so many conditions souls of this material universe. So why can trick us like that, thinking that I am a deliverer? So why I'm saying this point? Because the same idea that how I'm special can come in the garb of this spiritual idea. I mean, you have to become assistant in the spiritual mission. But the point is, this mentality can be that material part of it. That is the problem. So every condition so thinks himself to be very special in that sense. And the problem is that he thinks himself to be special, disconnected from Krishna. So actually we are special, by having if we become aware of our real position, that I am actually divine part and parcel of Krishna. And in Krishna's eye, we are special. From the viewpoint of Krishna, from the eyes of Krishna, we are actually very special. Because just like a child is special, every child is special to his parent, correct? Every child. So yes, from Krishna's perspective, we are VVIP. We are very, very important person. But the point is the condition soul forgets that part. He doesn't think from Krishna's perspective. He just thinks on his own terms that I am the most wonderful, the most special, and I am the center of this universe. And the whole world is meant for my enjoyment. And through me only everything is auspicious. This kind of ideas come. So this is how we can see how typically this mentality is there in every living being as the conditioned state. So here Suruchi is thinking that I am the favorite of king. I am the most beautiful queen. And king is attached to me. I am the main queen. And the son who is born through me is the special child. And he has a qualification because he is born with my womb. That's why he is very qualified. And that's how he can sit on the lap of his father. But because through Maharaj, he is not born from my womb, so he is not so important. He is not so important, like that she is thinking. So anything connected to me through my body is important. So my body is very important, and anything connected to me is very important. So say I, aham, and mamata. So this mamata is that way. So which is whatever is connected to my body, that is very special. That is very important. This is how conditions all things. Anything connected to my body is very important. And that's why he becomes very attached also. Because it's very important for me, so he becomes very attached to it. And then when he loses it, then he has so much of lamentation. But from where it is coming, this idea coming, that so much lamentation, why it is? Because he considers that to be very important. Anything connected to him is very important. So that verse is there, Yasyatma buddhi kunupet dhatake. So the kalatradishu bhaum ijjit. One considers himself to be made up of this body to be himself, and he considers the land where he is born is very worshipable. So it extends, anything connected to him is worshipable. That's what he feels. That kind of idea comes. So if we are not having God consciousness, if we are not worshipping God, then we are bound to worship this false conception of us. This is what we are going to do. Because as soon as we forget God, and we are not engaged in his worship, in his glorification, then it comes in this way. It will come in the self-glorification. Self means not the soul, not like understanding of real self. He thinks himself to be the body. So then he wants to glorify his body, he wants to worship his body, and wants to worship anything which is connected to his body. So this is how basically that is called self-gratification. Typically, this is what self-gratification. So this consciousness of anything connected to me, I am worshipable, anything connected to me is worshipable, is very clear exhibition of this ignorance. This ignorance, like that. Like my spiritual master says in a very joking way, that the mother, she feels the child when he passes the stool. So she feels that this stool is actually more fragrant than a guru also. Very, very special. So every mother feels like. So there is, of course, one can glorify the affection part. But if you see from the perspective of bodily conception of, so because something connected to him, so then he considers very special. So my child is very special, and that stool also the child is very special. The one brahmachari was saying when he went to home, so then that one of his nephew, I think, he passed urine. So then they were so much rejoicing. Oh, he passed, and they were very happy about it. And they're delighting in that. They were telling some holy rivers name.
That's an appropriate verse.
Yeah. What is that? That is there?
An appropriate verse.
Oh, she considers it very special. So the point is how now if you see, in ordinary sense, what is there, but they feel that it is so special, special that during is passing. And when there are pastimes of Krishna, then they don't like, then they don't understand how it is so supremely pure. So actually, anything connected to Lord is special. Anything connected to Lord is always auspicious. That idea, connection to the politics. So, if you see the Lord's deity, the Lord's holy name, the Lord's devotee, they're all pure. They're all pure. They're special. So when we are in knowledge, when we are in transcendental knowledge, then we know the value of what is what. Otherwise, we just misidentify like that, and we have this kind of false glorification. So as we get transcendental knowledge, then we understand who is worshipped. Who is worshipped? Supreme Lord is worshipped. And anything connected to the Supreme Lord is worshipped. It's called Tadiya. So that's how all the paraphernalia of the Lord is worshipped. Even the devotees of the Lord also can be worshipped. So they're connected to the Lord. So we consider every devotee to be special. Not because a bodily conception, but because he's connected to the Supreme. That's how we consider he is very special. Because he has come through Lord. He is connected through Lord. That's why we are seeing his connection and we consider very special. You see, bodily consciousness, how it comes? When it's connected to me, my body is very special. And that leads to attachment and aversion. But the same idea, if it is we are in real knowledge, when we don't have this misidentification, then we understand, okay, the Supreme Lord is the worshipable object. He is the center. And anyone connected to the Supreme Lord is very special. He is worshipable. So this idea is there. So even in a family relationship also, somebody may have that idea. This child is very special. Husband is very special. Wife is very special. Kids are very special. That idea can be there. But the idea should be born of because they're Vaishnavas. Because he's Vaishnavi. They're Vaishnava. So with this idea, we can have that feeling of being that they are special. They're special to me. And they're actually helping me to make advancement, make it fast. So we can be grateful also. So this idea should be there. So actually, that's why this is very tricky, when we living in this world, and when we are surrounded by family members and relatives, so there is a strong tendency to forget that, and we get bound by this kind of ideas because of we being conditioned. So it's we get carried away. Even sometimes, even we may be devotees also. It may be challenging. We get carried away by this kind of lamentation and attachment. Like you see, your Chitraketu Maharaj must not be an ordinary person. He was a king, and in his kingdom, Angira Muni was visiting. So surely, they surely had the sense of life. They knew that we are not the body, the soul. He must be knowing about the Supreme Lord. But how he became so attached to his son, Harshishoka, you can see that. So, and he considered his son to be so special. And when he died, then he thought that everything is gone. That's what he was thinking. And you can see Dhritarashtra's case also. Dhritarashtra was also so many times given sermons by Vidurji. But he was considering Duryodhana to be very special. In fact, it is told that Duryodhana was born, that he should be killed actually, he should die. Otherwise, he will create havoc. But Dhritarashtra had such great attachment for Duryodhana. So he agreed for all the evil proposals of Duryodhana, though Dhritarashtra was not so bad. But because of his attachment to his son, because he is born for me, same idea, because of his bodily consumption, then he is very special. Again, same idea. So very special. So that's why he couldn't do anything. So, but as I was saying, that when we understand the glory of the Lord, then this understanding, the true understanding, how every devotee is special, anything connected to the Lord is special. And then we know the value of everything, how it is connected to the Lord. So this is a vision of a pure devotee also, because he sees the whole world connected to Krishna. And that's how he can respect everything and everyone in this world, because he sees that connection. So he sees this world as a Tadiya, the Lord. And then he deals with this world in appropriate way. So this is the consciousness of the Mahavagati, or pure devotee of the Lord. So now their affection doesn't come on this bodily conception of life. You can see in this world also, people sometimes so much try to favor each other. They express their gratitude. They express their love. And when we think, oh, there is so much, love and there's so much affection, you can see like that, you can think like that. The businessman also, sometimes the friends also. You can find they're so much supportive. I see sometimes, people are having really so much feelings for each other. You can see that. So, but what the difference then? When they're able to respect, now they are not devotees, but they're able to respect, have gratitude, have so much of feelings, and they may honor. That day he was telling, Vanmali Prabhu told that how one great singer died, and then they were saying that she would be, even like worshipped by his followers, like that. So much people honor and respect and all that. They do in this world. You can find happens. So this kind of honor and worship is there, but that affection is coming because of again bodily consumption. It is not at all, the way a pure devotee has affection. How he like we see also, how purity also, will be very friendly with others, will be very affectionate, will be very kind, and will be sacrificing. So these qualities come. You can see these qualities in devotees also. You can see these qualities in non-devotees also, like that. But for devotees of the Lord, their vision is proper. It is not coming out of bodily condition. And that's why it is unconditioned. It is unconditioned. We see in this, in the material society, the same kind of affection turns to a very another side of aversion also. You can see that. That same person is so madly, wanting to take care of that person, care for that person, die for that person, ready to do anything for that person. And now he is ready to, see that this fellow dies from his existence. So it completely gets opposite also in this world, you can see that. But in the case of devotees, it doesn't happen. Like you see, even those people who sometimes became like critical about Prabhupada, or those who left Prabhupada. Prabhupada always had well-wishing feeling. Like once one of the godbrother, when he left his body, so some of the disciples became very happy. And they said, Prabhupada left his body because he was so much sometimes criticizing you and all. Prabhupada stopped. He said, don't do that. He has gone back to God. You don't know my spiritual master, which is a very great personality. So Prabhupada had no malice in the heart. You can see. Even though somebody might be criticizing him also. Because that affection, that respecting every living entity was on the spiritual platform. So that's why you can see here the Supreme Suriti very proudly informed him that to be the king's son was not the qualification of sitting on the lap or on the throne of the king. But if you see in contrast, Prabhupada thinks that all these hippies are qualified to sit on the lap of Krishna because they have left their father and their limbs are degraded. And what is their qualification? Because they're connected to Krishna. They're connected to Krishna. So that very qualification that their divine partner was Krishna is a qualification. And that's why, he was happy to just bring them back to Krishna to speak. And we had full faith that is how every divinity's constitutional position is. They're not meant for suffering in this material world like that. So pure devotee does not discard anybody. He doesn't see anyone's external qualification. He only sees that all of them have the Janma Siddhadhikar. They're all qualified, souls to have the shelter of the lotus feet. It's not the thing. But if you see the smart Brahmanas, when Prabhupada made them devotees, they had problems. They said, hey, how can these American Vaishnavas, European Vaishnavas be a bona fide Vaishnava? They had problems. Why they had problems? Again, bodily consumption. Because if they are born from our Gotra, if they're born in our caste, if they're born in our land, then only they're qualified to be called Goswami and all. So once one disciple of Prabhupada was, there in the Vrindavan, and one Jati Gosai, one Gosai like that, he said to him, he was worshipping the deity, he said, now you're in Hare Krishna movement, you're from America born, you continue like this, whatever you're doing, chanting and all that. Next life, you'll be born in Goswami family and you'll also get to worship here, whatever the deity was. So like that happened. So I bless you. And he became so happy. He went to Prabhupada. And Prabhupada said, and he said to Prabhupada, I'm blessed by that priest in that temple, that I should continue like this, and when I die, next birth I will take birth from in that family, and I will, be qualified to worship the Supreme. And then Prabhupada said, wait a minute, you tell him that you continue worshipping like this, And next birth, you will take birth in Hare Krishna movement. And then you will continue worshipping deities all over the world in our ISKCON temples. That will continue. So tell him that this is my blessings to you. So you can see here, clearly you can see that how that feeling of specialty is there. Because he is thinking in terms of body. Again, bodily conception. Gosai and all, it's like title. There is a body conception. But Prabhupada did not see that. Prabhupada was so unhappy, thinking that how can they say my American disciples, European disciples are not qualified? Why? Are they not a spirit soul? Are they not chanting Hare Krishna? Are they not taking shelter of Supreme Lord? Are they not performing devotional service? So what is the problem? They are doing everything what a devotee should do. So why they should not be accepted as bona fide Vaishnava? So that is body conception. Like one person wrote that 3-page letter to GBC that how only Brahmanas can be Guru, quoting the scriptures right in the Bible. And then, so he was one point of time was a great scholar. I mean, he was now seen a great scholar. So he came to Pune also, Sundar Shah Godse, he came to Pune 3 days brahmachari classes, so much, and all devotees are making notes and this. But later, because he's writing like this, so then he's not in this one. He went, and then I heard something like he opened another organization, doing 3.5 relative principles. So 3.5 relative principles. Another ISKCON society. I'm not ISKCON, some other society, not ISKCON, away from ISKCON. So you can see that, how people can actually be misled with bodily identification. So when we become devotees, we should be very careful. Sometimes you may think, oh, this devotee is very nice. We have some special feeling, right? He's from the same, caste where I was from. Oh, Brahman. Brahman. He is also Brahman. So if you have some feeling for him, because of he's from my caste. Right? Same way, he's from my land, Telangana. He's from Telangana. I'm also from Telangana. So we have some feeling. So these things are there, as conditions we have those. We have to really point out those things. Because they should not be there. Because this is foolish mentality. These are contaminations in our consciousness. Having this kind of feeling. He is an engineer Vaishnava. He is a Brahmana Vaishnava. And it comes to even like, Varna. He is a Brahman. He is a Kapasta. We are Brahmachari. He is a one person. Whatever. So I think this kind of consciousness can actually become that's how it becomes like offensive. That's how, because the body conception of life, then we cannot properly respect the Vaishnavas that way. So very, very careful. So of course it's natural to have affection for one family, but still we have to be careful. Because otherwise, why Kunti Mahani is praying? Please cut off the tie of affection by family members. The devotee should learn to see all the devotees as his family. One should not be like, only for the sake of duty, he may have to have some special responsibility for his family members. But one should gradually become mature to see that how all the Westerners, all the devotees that are part of the family, this is how the devotee thinks eventually. Like that. So he doesn't have like very special attachment only to his family members. Ultimately, they're my family members. My blood. My blood and their blood is same, as if like same blood is flowing through my body. That's how they feel it. So much of this, body consciousness comes. But one has to understand that all the Vaishnavas are my family members. They're all my bandhu. They're all my brothers. Like that. That kind of feeling should be there. Why I have only special feeling for my own family members? I should not. Why I don't have very special feeling for all the Vaishnavas and extending even the Jiva, because they're also potential, they're also living things. So why not? So sometimes we like our family members, but then we want to hate neighbors, not to hate others. Or if it's our family member, then it is fine. But if somebody else is there, then we link it to other things like that. So we can see this kind of behaviors, this kind of mentality. It is all born out of body conception. So as devotee also have to guard against all this. Otherwise, these things can be there. So let's pause here. If you have any reflection or The last line is, in other words, the Sri indirectly informed Dhurmara that although he appeared to be born of the king, he was nonetheless considered to be an illegitimate son because of his birth in the womb of other queen. But pure devotee thinks everybody is legitimate son because everybody is born of Krishna. Everybody is legitimate son of Krishna. So everybody is qualified to worship Krishna. That's why there is no bar in having anybody to come to Krishna consciousness. So, because we act on spiritual platform, then we can go to anybody and tell them Krishna is your master, Krishna is your father, Krishna is your brother. Come and take Krishna. Accept Krishna. This is how Srila Prabhupada has made our society. Everybody is legitimate son of Krishna. That understanding is there. And that's why a devotee can preach to anyone. Doesn't have any kind of idea of he cannot be devotee. He only can be devotee. Nothing. Everybody. I was very worried my college time that my parents will become devotee. I was so much attached. I was thinking that they should become devotee. But I think my father is quite good. He's just close to becoming a devotee. Why is he? So I was like, I just go and bombard philosophy. That it has a lot of negative impact. Because they are working on it. Then the Sundar Sharma told, why are you so attached to making your parents devotees? Because so many people are ready to become devotees. Why don't you please them? They will become devotees. Why your parents? And I really got really why only my there's so many people are ready. So I want them to be ready. But why I'm not having the same intensity for so many people? And there are so many people are ready actually. If that much amount if you give to others, they are becoming devotees. That relieving it. That one thought, one sentence was relieving, so relieving. After that, I became a bit sober. Of course, still that feeling was there. It was like kind of more relieving. So it's all body when it comes. Yes. Any reflection?
One thing about connection between Dhritarashtra, that was a good connection. One thing I wanted to say about, we always say that fact that it's been very careful on the path and push the consciousness to change it. Very good thing. But I compare it to driving a car. It's very dangerous to drive a car every second. But if you're an experienced driver and you know how to do it, then you can do it. You stay on the road, you go at the right time, you stop at the right time, you turn the right way, you avoid the other cars. So yeah, the consciousness, of course, you have to be careful, you have to be it's danger, but we can do it. We learn and we remain how to be good devotees, practice, get good at it. Not like there's no danger anymore, but we can do it.
I just remember one point where we say humility means thinking that we are insignificant. Like we said, thinking that religion versus spiritual, I'm insignificant. Think about what they thinking market. We start thinking I'm insignificant. Definitely. That helps that.
They give this example. They say that if suppose one line is drawn, then if you bring it to another line, it's very big, then you can understand how insignificant you are. So more you are absorbing glories of the Lord, you can automatically understand that I am insignificant. But what happens if the individual forgets the Lord? Then his existence becomes like I am all in all. So that's why the way to become humble is devotional service. As you become more and more join devotional service, naturally become. And of course, there are ways to make you become humble also, other ways also. Like Prabhupada told Tamal Krishna Maharaj, how insignificant. That is painting most of it. Yes, sir.
The point of view is avidya. Human is body like even from attachment to that. Because attachment to that we love some from it. You are very good counseling. Attachment is such a strong. It means that in something. In the case of this Daksha, Daksha capability other everything was saying the good quality of God. Although everyone is but Daksha is the only person who is not able to see the good quality. So was attitude will bond. So how you not giving respect to him?
He's my son-in-law.
Everyone the attachment covers the whole world is seeing I had a verse from that she went into that pray to the Lord that I will die and I will take birth on the moon. In that he's trying to say that your mind is better than a God. Because this is your to take pray to the Lord that you take birth. Why he pray to God that you have to take birth again?
Taking birth from my womb is the goal of life, perfection. That's the perfection of your life. If you're born from my womb.
Because we are not saying nature thing, we are not purified thing. This thing come in our life. Liking is like what I like, what I take to what we like.
Those who are preached by me, they are the most fortunate souls. Those are my counselors. They are rightly situated. They will go. They are really fortunate. Somehow they become counselors of the road. I can get so I wish. Raghava says, if you want to take initiation from me, and if you see me anyway special than my God brothers, if you don't take it from me, if you can see me as servant of my God brothers, then you can take anything. He was told once in they teach us. So sometimes subtly we may feel somebody who is connected to me, my counseling, my mentee, my facilitator, somebody, he is special, he is fortunate somehow. Others means I think they're misled. Or it's okay. This is a very attachment of